Right now, inside your head is the single most complex object we know of in the entire universe. It's not just an organ, it's a universe in itself. And today, we're going to be your tour guide. So let's dive right in.
All right, first things first, let's talk size. The average adult brain weighs about 1.5 kilograms, or around 3 pounds. So you could literally rest it in your hands. But here's the thing, it's not the size that's going to blow your mind, it's what's packed inside. Get ready for this number. Crammed into that little space are roughly 86 billion neurons. Just try to wrap your head around that. That is more than 10 times the number of people on the entire planet. It's this incredible, bustling city of cells, all firing and wiring away inside your skull at this very second. And what is this incredible city up to? Well, it's doing everything. It's generating every single thought, every feeling, every memory, and every dream you've ever had. This isn't just some boring biological hardware, okay? This is the engine of your consciousness. In the most literal sense, this is you. So you've got to be asking, how on earth does this ridiculously complex thing actually work? Well, that's what we're here for. We're going to explore it just like a city, starting with its outer walls and working our way right into the central command.
Okay, but before we just waltz right in, we've got to get past security. And trust me, it is impressive. See, the brain itself is super delicate, kind of like a firm jelly, so it needs some serious protection. It's basically living inside its own personal fortress.
First up, you've got the most obvious line of defense, your skull. It's a solid, bony helmet, right? But what's going on underneath that armor is way more subtle, and honestly, it might be even more important.
It's called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF for short, and you can just think of it as a personal airbag and a protective moat, all rolled into one. Your body is constantly making this stuff, about half a liter every single day, and it just circulates around protecting your brain from all the bumps and jolts of just, living life.
But this fluid does way more than just absorb shocks. Its most vital role is something you'd probably never guess. So let me ask you this. What do you think would happen if that liquid cushion just vanished?
Okay, the answer is kind of mind-blowing. Your brain is essentially floating. Without the buoyancy from that CSF, the brain's own weight would literally crush the delicate blood vessels at its base, cutting off its own supply of oxygen and nutrients. This liquid literally prevents our brains from self-destructing. All right, so we've made it past the fortress walls. Now let's get a bird's eye view of this city. The easiest way to think about the brain is to break it down into 3 major districts, which were kind of built on top of each other over millions of years of evolution.
So, way down at the bottom, you've got the hindbrain. This is the old school part, the original hardware, and it's basically running life support. Sitting on top of that is the midbrain, which acts like a super efficient relay station. And then, the big one, the forebrain. That's the penthouse suite, the CEO's office, where all the complex thinking, the big ideas, and the important decisions happen.
So where else would we start our tour but in that executive suite, right? We're talking about the cerebrum. That big, wrinkly part of the brain you always see in pictures? This is the headquarters for conscious thought. It's where most of the action goes down.
But the cerebrum isn't just one giant mass. Think of it as being split into 4 specialized departments. We call them lobes. Each one has its own specific job to do, but they all have to work together perfectly for you to work.
Okay, first up, right behind your forehead, is the frontal lobe. This is your personal CEO. Every time you decide to plan out your day, solve a tricky problem, or, stop yourself from saying something you might regret, yep, that's your frontal lobe calling the shots.
Next up, we've got the parietal lobe. This is your brain's built-in GPS and navigation system. It's constantly building this live 3D map of the world around you, which is how you can walk through a crowded room without crashing into everyone. It also pulls in all those sensations like touch and tells you what they mean.
Now, all the way at the very back of your head, you'll find the occipital lobe. You can think of this as your own personal movie theater. It has one absolutely critical job. Take all that jumbled up light hitting your eyes and turn it into the rich, colorful, 3D world you're seeing at this very moment.
And tucked in on the sides, right by your temples, are the temporal lobes. These are your sound engineers and your librarians. They're not just hearing my voice, they're understanding the words and connecting them to everything you already know. You ever hear just a few notes of an old song and suddenly you're right back in middle school? Yeah, you can thank your temporal lobe for that little bit of magic.
So, you have these 4 big departments, but what are they actually made of? Well, it really boils down to 2 main things: gray matter and white matter. The gray matter is like the computers themselves. It's where all the actual processing happens. And the white matter? That's all the cabling, the high-speed fiber optic network, connecting all those computers so they can communicate instantly. Okay, let's step out of the executive suite for a minute and check out another major player. It's tucked away at the back, underneath the cerebrum. Its name literally means little brain, but don't let that fool you. Its job is absolutely huge. This is the cerebellum, the silent master of all your movement.
Think about it. Signing your name, riding a bike, even just walking across the room without stumbling, all that stuff that feels so effortless, that's all thanks to the cerebellum. It's working behind the scenes 24/7, making millions of tiny unconscious adjustments to make sure all your movements are smooth, fluid, and precise.
And for our final stop, we're going to the oldest, most fundamental part of the brain, the brainstem. You could call it the unsung hero. If the cerebrum is the fancy CEO, the brainstem is the power plant, the life support system that just works tirelessly in the background, keeping the whole city running. It's your body's non-negotiable autopilot.
And this autopilot is in charge of all the stuff you never, ever want to have to think about. Your heartbeat, making sure you keep breathing while you sleep, digestion, it just handles it. All of it, automatically. And here's the bottom line. Without the brainstem doing its reliable, automatic work, there would be no conscious mind to think or feel or wonder about anything at all.
And that, believe it or not, brings our tour to a close. From that incredible floating cushion of CSF, to the specialized departments of the cerebrum, to the silent acrobatics of the cerebellum, all these disparate parts collaborate in a perfect, intricate dance. And the result of that dance is a single, unified, conscious experience. The result is you.
Which leaves us with one last kind of wild thought to chew on. The human brain is the only object we know of in the universe that is actively trying to figure itself out. It's a mystery that is trying to solve itself. We've mapped its regions and decoded some of its signals, but the deepest questions are still out there. What will this remarkable organ discover about itself tomorrow?